Hydromatic Engineering started out 20 years ago from scratch. To date employs 105 people. Their latest job, designed and built on their Redhead plant, is this mobile roof bolting machine used in underground mines.
And they bolt the roof and the side walls of the mine and prevent the roof and sidewalls from caving in.
The company has been working 24 hours a day for the last 3 months to finish 2 machines for a Chinese mine. Valued at around $500,000 each, these are the last in a deal of 6. The company exports to 9 different countries and is looking to expand further.
We established a company in the UK 2 years ago, and that's progressing pretty well, so that from there we cover Canada and the US and the other European countries.
Peter Ryan, NBN News.
Police say a man entered the building and jumped the counter brandishing a pistol. Staff were herded into a room out the back and then the thief gathered up the cash. Witnesses saw the man drive away at high speed and meet up with 2 other people. They abandoned his getaway car in a laneway and escaped in another vehicle.
It appears to be well planned. The offender left the premises in what we now have found abandoned is a stolen Commodore sedan.
Staff were deeply shocked by the incident, as it's the second time they have been robbed.
It's a difficult experience for staff in these circumstances and they are upset about the matter.
Police are looking for the 3 men. One is described as being 170 to 180 centimetres tall and of stocky build. Any people witnessing the incident, particularly when the car exchange was made in Lambton Lane near Avondale Street, are asked to contact police. Heather Stewart, NBN News. It's a hideaway for men's folk and a perfect opportunity to indulge their dreams. From paintball and virtual reality to rock climbing and fishing, it's all a man could want. And most were happy with the chance to indulge.
Never too young for a new toy.
But there were few women making the trip to Newcastle Entertainment Centre. What are you doing here?
We had to come with our husbands.
What about the women? Don't they need toys too?
No, they don't need toys, they just borrow the men's.
For the adventurous, every camping commodity a bloke could ask for. And for those with a keen sense of humour, even those who never grew up could try their hand at 4-wheel driving, though they needed a bit of practice on the turns. But caught out in their weak moment, not many would admit they were indulging themselves. What about you? This is a show for men. What about the women?
Who cares? It's quite simply.
For all those men and women, the show runs until 7 p.m. on both Saturday and Sunday. Heather Stewart, NBN News.
The crowd at Broadmeadow Basketball Stadium could be forgiven for not recognising many of the Newcastle players, with 6 development squad members in the Falcon squad. But it was the experienced players that led the way, Bowden with 19 points, Kruger 14. In his last match for the Falcons before leaving for North Melbourne, Tony Jensen showed why he'll be missed. But 19-year-old local Scott McGregor gave the Falcons hope for the future, shooting 12 points. Despite loud crowd support and 31 points from Ye Kung Young, the South Koreans couldn't match it with the Falcons, losing 85 to 73. Richard O'Leary, NBN News. The Knights hope next season won't be as gloomy as this morning's weather. Some familiar faces were missing, with Kangaroos, Muir, O'Davis, Harrigan and the Johns brothers given a few weeks to recover from the World Cup. The Super Leaguers were also gone, but for one new player it was a novelty just to be there.
I've never done beach work, so there's no sand at Campbelltown, so it's a lot different, yeah.
Glenn Grief lives up to his name on the football field, the former West Ford keen to be part of one of the toughest packs in the game.
Firstly, to cement a first grade position, and secondly, to see if I can represent city, country or the state of origin the next year.
It may be nearly a year until the 96 grand final, but there's already an air of confidence in the Knights camp.
With Robbie McCormack going and Mark Sargent, so there's 2 positions there, so no one's really guaranteed a position's up to the individual, so if everything goes all right, we should have a good side.
Richard O'Leary, NBN News.
Police launch Intrepid made it back to the shelter of Newcastle Harbour this afternoon, shepherding another craft which had been taking water as it attempted to make Sydney. It was only by luck that the police happened over the cabin cruiser after battling the seas to save another runabout and its crew from washing onto rocks near Fraser Park. A strong southerly change and low pressure system off Newcastle caught skippers out when it hammered in with winds of up to 80 kilometres an hour. The crew of the cruiser, which had been making its way from Port Stephens to Pittwater in 4-metre swells, had noticed water lapping up through the floorboards of their vessel. The boat had recently been bought from a charter business and was on its delivery run. Even larger vessels had difficulties as the storm blew through. 2 sections of a new Navy frigate heading from Newcastle for completion in Melbourne were waylaid when the tow became difficult. An engineer working on a seagoing tug had his hand crushed by a heavy chain. The skipper made an unscheduled docking to wait out the blow. The engineer was taken to hospital. Andrew Lobb, NBN News. The council hopes the gradual revitalisation of Newcastle won't be too painful a process, but realises it will mean change for some of the city's oldest suburbs. Residents met with council representatives and planners today to express their concerns over the future of the area, the needs of industry and homeowners, transport links and projected population impacts.
There are concerns about making it a community which has a shared set of values, also concerns about issues like Stewart Avenue overpass.
The Honeysuckle Development Plan is gradually reclaiming port and industrial areas for public space and housing, a project which is expected to come to fruition over the next 10 years. Sore, sorry but alive, 18-year-old Dennis St John owes his life to 3 teenage boys who knew what to do in an emergency. Dennis was riding a boogie board at Newcastle's Nobby's Beach when he was dumped head-first onto a sandbank.
No, what I did, I just probably been stupid what I was trying to do. I was trying to make a new move. I don't know. Yeah. It's really shallow where I went out.
Knocked out and floating face down, Dennis could have drowned within moments. Year 6 high school students, Scott Armstrong and Brad Cranfield, dragged Dennis from the water, cleared his airway to let him breathe and placed him in the recovery position while their mate Peter Fitzpatrick ran to alert the beach inspector. Dennis was airlifted from the beach.
And how did you know what to do? Oh, been learning at school just for the last 3 weeks. Just at school and that, so that was mainly it.
Makes a big difference.
Yeah. I know what would happen if we weren't there.
X-rays today confirmed Dennis hasn't suffered any permanent damage. Out of gratitude to his rescuers, he says he'll learn surf life-saving skills in case he can one day help someone else.
Would you learn?
Yeah, sure.
Barnsley's new school has given students plenty to sing about. The site at Lake Macquarie's Cliff Brook Street, Barnsley, has quite a history. In December 1865, 29 pupils attended the original school that was destroyed by rising floodwaters 6 years later. The old school was damaged again in the 1989 earthquake and finally succumbed to the ravages of mine subsidence, leading to the building of the replacement that was completed early this year.
This is your day. It's an important day.
The official opening of the new school premises created a special bond between former and current students. And in Burrigal, there were also celebrations with the opening of the primary school's $400,000 administration building. The school's 245 students, 14 teachers and staff joined parents and friends for the occasion. A demountable administration building served the school for 17 years before these new premises were built. Heather Stewart, NBN News.
The giant Collins-class submarines are not what they seem. Much of the top deck is a void, except for the all-important communications pods housed behind carbon fibre shields known as windows. The biggest is the nose cone, which takes 7 months to make, using super strong but lightweight carbon fibre.
This is actually the first one in Australia that's been built with this sort of technology.
Transfield's reinforced plastic composite factory won the contract to build 4 nose cones and set up fully climate-controlled booths for the job. The first of the cones will be trucked to Adelaide, where the submarines are being assembled. The company has also won work on special sonar domes for the Anzac frigate project. Meanwhile, hull sections for the frigates are being towed south after completion by Transfield. Elsewhere on the port, work has ground to a halt on the repair of a mini bulk carrier, the Troy D in Newcastle. The vessel is at the centre of a dispute between the Maritime Union and its owners over non-award payments. The ship ran aground on the south coast a fortnight ago. Andrew Lobb, NBN News.
They travelled from far and wide to gather at Scone, Australia's thoroughbred capital. It was a chance for the community to see the best of a two-wheeled thoroughbred on parade. Proud owners of the Harley-Davidson motorbike decked out for the event, and it seemed the young were keen to join the group. Funds raised from community stalls and activities will be donated to the New South Wales Spastic Centre for its work with adults and children who have cerebral palsy. Heather Stewart, NBN News.
The Port of Newcastle is bristling with radio and tracking equipment waiting to fight off the stranglehold of mine warfare. So far, a forward support headquarters has been established to pave the way for more than 200 personnel, including US Navy clearance divers. 7 of the Royal Australian Navy's mine countermeasure ships will arrive in Newcastle later this week. As well as sweeps off the coast, divers will be dropped from helicopters within the port to clear shipping channels. The Navy will also deploy remotely controlled drone boats in mine clearing operations. The exercise will be conducted over 2 weeks. Andrew Lobb, NBN News.
It's believed neighbours called police to the Jarrett Street unit. There they found blood splattered on the driveway. Inside the flat, 2 people who'd been stabbed. It took some time for officers to work out what had happened. A short time ago, they were still piecing together the events.
We've got one female inside a house that's deceased, and we've got an elderly female who's been taken to hospital in an extremely critical condition.
Does this look like a domestic situation?
I'm not sure at this stage. There's a lot of witnesses that have to be interviewed and a lot of details that have to be found out. It's too early.
And has someone been taken into custody?
At this stage, there's a male juvenile in custody and he's being spoken to.
The youth was taken into custody a short distance from the scene on Sky Point Road at Coal Point. According to police, he had a hand injury and was covered in blood.
The youth was taken under police escort to Toronto Police Station. As the youth was being arrested, a woman was being frantically worked on by ambulance officers before being flown to John Hunter Hospital. She died on arrival. At the scene, police found a blood-splattered school shirt outside the block of units. The area was cordoned off, while relatives who arrived were told of the tragedy. Police have released no names.
The winner of the Keno Club Pairs is considered to be one of the best teams in the state. The Dupre father and son combination in the blue shirts had to fight all the way to earn that title at Ettalong's Memorial Bowling Club. The score seesawed many times as both teams failed to get a winning lead. The battle lasted for more than 4 hours, with Legutsa and Walsh leading 19-18 with an end to play. But the Dupreys turned it around to get 2 shots and the title. It's the second year in a row a father and son have won the title, following the victory of Lake Macquarie's Clary and Kim Jacques last year. Richard O'Leary, NBN News.
We're wearing armbands today really as a gesture, I suppose, to indicate that we are fearful that TAFE may be on its way out.
Some of the 800 TAFE teachers in the Hunter region met at the Newcastle Workers Club, condemning the government many helped elect. They say with funding undermined and courses and facilities being offered on the open market, there's no way the quality and the diversity of education can be maintained.
In order to cut costs in the Institute, we have had courses cut back. In many areas, students may know through bitter experience that the courses that they want to do are often not available at the colleges they used to be available at. We're not selling potatoes, we're not selling a commodity of that sort, we are providing a public service, and that's a really very different issue.
The Australian Socceroos coaches and officials, along with members of the Australian women's soccer team, attended a civic welcome in Newcastle. The familiar faces of former Novocastrians Jason Pollock and Warren Spink were in the crowd. The matches set for tomorrow night are one way in which the Soccer Federation is attempting to encourage greater interest and participation in the sport.
The support here is superb. We don't get support like this in Melbourne and Sydney with the numbers that are going to turn up tomorrow night.
The Socceroos and Kiwis, who'll take a training run at Breakers Stadium this evening, played a spiteful and scoreless draw in New Zealand as part of the 2-game series. Tomorrow's clash will be the decider. If the game is a draw, the visiting side is awarded double points for each goal.
Yeah, I said there'd be bloodshed. It might be my blood, but this is a big game for us. There's not too often that we can say we're playing in a competition of world-class standing, but this is one of them. We've got to start with the Kiwis. If we knock them off, we're almost to the quarterfinals of an equivalent quarterfinals of the World Cup.
Tetron Engineering has been working with the Defence Force for 20 years on submarines, tanks and Air Force FA-18s. This Quality and Achievement Award is for the repair work on the propulsion and generator systems of the Navy's Fremantle-class patrol boats.
We were just happy to be a finalist, but when they announced last night at Parliament House that we actually won it, it was a complete shock.
300 companies were nominated for the award, including overseas companies which have worked with the Australian Defence Forces. For Tetron, with its 110 workers, it's a special achievement, proving that local companies can match it with the best in the world.
I think it just goes to show that a Novocastrian company can do it and compete on an international level and do it well.
Peter Ryan, NBN News.
The lightest one you've got, 1.162.
The atmosphere in Foster Primary School's gym was exam-like today, with 100 young faces concentrating over their next moves on the chessboards. Students representing schools from all over the Manning and Great Lakes region took part in the 6th annual competition.
They're so excited about this and so eager that it's 400 or 500 children compete for these children to receive these places.
The schools entered 2 teams, a senior made up of Year 5 and 6 students and a Year 3 and 4 junior side, with the exception of 7-year-old Trent Johnson, who was blitzing the field.
I just like the game.
Do you find it hard?
Yeah, sometimes it is.
How are you competitors? Have you found that you can beat most of them?
Yeah.
While Foster Primary has taken out the trophy for the last 3 years in a row, Wingham looked hard to beat today after students put in months of practice as a part of their sport curriculum.
It's amazing what ability children have. These children are very clever players. Not just players, but very clever players.
Simone Cobb, NBN News. The woman's concerned parents alerted Foster Police at 10 o'clock last night. Their 25-year-old daughter was missing after driving her estranged de facto husband to his Blackhead home that afternoon. Police say the woman had recently broken up with a 34-year-old man. While the relationship was strained, they believe it hadn't been violent. Responding to the call, police visited the man's home near Blackhead Road at 10:30. They believe the woman had already been shot in a shed near the house before the man took her over to the car 500 metres away, their 1-year-old daughter in the back seat. It was during the next 15 minutes as police searched the property when they believe the man who was still in the car put the .25 rifle to his head and took his life.
At the property they found the female who they were looking for in her vehicle, and she had suffered a gunshot wound to the head. A male occupant in the vehicle had a fatal gunshot wound to the forehead, and there was the couple's 1-year-old child was in the vehicle unharmed.
The woman was airlifted to John Hunter Hospital where she was stabilised last night. She has since been transferred to Prince Henry Hospital in Sydney.
We're looking at the deceased will be taken to Sydney and the Sydney coroner will be looking into the matter.
Simone Cobb, NBN News.
It's the jumping-off point for students who, after 3 years of study in their chosen fields, are now looking for the big break, a start to begin mapping a career in the media. They've completed studies in journalism, sound, graphics, computer layout, public relations, photography and video, learning the disciplines of professional practice and theory and applying imagination and creativity. During their course, the students take part in a number of work placements to gather practical skills. Some will go on to further education, others into the local and national communications industry.
Bastille Beggar was named Australian 2-year-old of the year last year. This year he's the Newcastle Harness Club's NBN Horse of the Year.
He's just got natural ability. He's a natural athlete and, he can do things that other horses can't.
Jason Proctor takes Bastille Beggar across Australia to race. He's had 10 wins this year, 19 wins for 28 starts in his career.
As a 2-year-old, he won the Great Bathurst Gold Crown and the Sires Stakes final at Harold Park. This season, even though he ran runner-up in the Sires Stakes final at Harold Park, he didn't win the Prelude and won another 4 feature sires throughout the season.
At a special function in Newcastle, the Harness Club with the Caduceus Club announced Patricia Isley as Trainer of the Year and Peter Wellington as Driver of the Year. Peter Ryan, NBN News.
A Royal Australian Navy Forward Support Unit or Mobile Base Camp has been established on the docks at Newcastle. 200 mine hunter personnel and clearance divers have the unenviable task of locating and disposing of an array of sophisticated mock weapons in the approaches to the port during the exercise.
More modern mines are unlike the types of mines you see in the old World War II movies with the buoyant sections with the spikes sticking out. More modern mines are actually very sophisticated.
Small manta mines are made of plastic, so they're difficult to detect with sonar. Larger cylindrical mines sit on the sea floor, programmed to listen or feel for certain targets.
Once they detect a noise or a magnetic signature or something like that, they'll switch on, and providing those signatures satisfy the mine, they will actuate. Big ships particularly, the most damaging aspect of a mine actuation is more of what we call the bubble effect underneath.
If not directly damaged by the blast, a ship is likely to drop suddenly and break its back. In this exercise, the enemy has already recorded one imaginary kill. A bulk carrier leaving port struck mines late at night by a raider ship and sank. Mine-hunting vessels have moved into the area, scanning the seabed with sonar equipment, then using remote-controlled subs to clear the mines. Mines were used to great effect during the Gulf War, and after the Second World War, there are still 10,000 undetonated and unaccounted for mines off the Australian coast. Andrew Lobb, NBN News. Playing the Newcastle Entertainment Centre, country music legends Willie Nelson, Waylon Jennings, Johnny Cash and Chris Christopherson are the Highwaymen, now on their Australian The Road Goes On Forever tour. With more than 150 years of combined hit-making, the collaboration has been hailed as one of the most significant in music history. After sell-out Newcastle performances, the Highwaymen take to the road for Melbourne, Adelaide and Perth.
The only movement on Newcastle Harbour today was two underloaded coal ships fleeing before maritime and transport workers walk out. No ships will be allowed in or out of the port after midnight.
The early indications are that over the 5 days, the initial part of the strike that we were told about, we'll have something like 9 ships arriving. The value of coal in those ships is something like $26–27 million.
As soon as that stoppage is over, the coal industry will shut down. A meeting of northern mining delegates in Cessnock voted to walk out at midnight on Tuesday. The delegates also voted in favour of a $2 a week increase in union dues to help create a fighting fund for disputes with national repercussions. This could provide a much-needed monetary boost for miners at the CRA-owned Vickery coal mine in Gunnedah who've been on strike for 16 weeks. The union members also called on the ACTU to provide immediate financial assistance for the miners. But the New South Wales Minerals Council has attacked the strikes. It says Australia will be the loser.
This sort of thing just reinforces what some of our overseas buyers believe. You know, it's once your reputation's shot, it's very hard to get it back.
Well, I'm concerned about it because our members lose considerable wages when they go on strike. So they are disadvantaged.
Richard O'Leary, NBN News.